Joe, I think that this next matchup that we're about to talk about is, I say this every week with Arkansas. We've talked about more Arkansas this year than maybe anybody because of the high-profile games, ironically, that they've had in the early part of this season. Look, Arkansas fans were mad at us. The last three times that we talked about them, I picked Oklahoma State to win. They won. We talked about it with A&M. Me and you both picked A&M to win, and they were mad at us. Yeah, both.
I picked A&M. I forgot.
Both of us picked A&M to win, and they did. Here's the nature of the beast, Joe. They're a really good running football team. Taylon Green is a bad decision maker and can't throw the football, and that is hurting them. That is killing them. Look, Tennessee comes into town. I got to tell you this, Joe. I was speaking to somebody around Arkansas today. I think that Sam Pittman, with a lot on the line, is going to empty the clip. I think that they're going to throw every single thing that they have at Tennessee. Josh Heupel was asked about that this week. Ironically, it felt like a planted question from somebody in the media to Josh Heupel, and he said, listen, man, we don't go in there focused. We're going to lose this football game. Joe, if Taylon Green completes 60% of his passes, Tennessee's in a dogfight because they got guys that are wide open. They have guys that they've been schemed up for. He is an exceptional athlete. Jackson and that offensive line, they've been running the football at will. The problem has been his decision-making when he drops back to pass has been porous at best, and that has been the reason that they've lost. I say all that to say Tennessee might be one of the best teams in the country, and they got a lot of things that they can work with. I ask you, what do you think about going into this game?
Just like we talked about with Auburn a second ago, this is not the game and the team to try to get right against. You are living by running the football. I mean, they've had some success with Taylon Green and Jaquindon Jackson, and all of their big plays have been coming and running the football. And your boy Tesla does have some big plays over the top. I still am laughing over the fact that there was just so much yelling over the fact that you insinuated that kid was going to be the leading receiver. And now we got Jim Nagy tweeting about him being a possible sleeper in the upcoming draft. I know, shocking stuff
Arkansas
that you
fans that writ me. You're welcome.
It was that one dumbass who has a YouTube channel with like 200 followers that got all mad at you. It's like, dude.
And it's ironic because he is. But you know what's even funnier about that? I said that Elon needs to give him an NIL deal because of Tesla.
I didn't even think that was a bad joke. I thought that was really funny. I was just like,
they hated it. They hated it.
It acted like it was some offensive thing to say. But sorry, continue what you're saying.
Let me ask you this question. This is a thought I've been having about this game all week. I don't know how to say it because you're going to think I'm crazy. But if I need to explain, I will. Is Arkansas the biggest test that Tennessee's had this year?
No, I think that Oklahoma was, because Oklahoma's defense is really good. So no, okay, I'm gonna say no to that.
Okay, well, let me ask you. They ain't seen an offense like this though. They haven't seen a guy that they're so scared about that can run.
Okay, but they're also turning the ball over a ton. They're having a ton of incompletions. So like I think that this offense is fine. I think that there's some really good athletes that they're going to have to account for, and Tennessee's defense is statistically arguably the best in the country with the way that they've performed in almost every single category.
Joe, that Oklahoma O-line is bad, man. They're really, really bad.
Is the Arkansas one heads better? I don't think so.
Joe, look at what's been happening with the dude Jackson. It's not like Joe, Arkansas is more tested than any one of the. I shouldn't say most in the country. That would be Kent State because their schedule's been brutal. Okay, if you're a Kent State fan, I'm sorry. Joe, I mean, they're very much battle. We know how physical. Look what they did to A&M last week. I mean, I'm not saying A&M and Tennessee has a comparable defensive line, but Joe, they ran the football. Now, a part of that is Taylon Green too, and I get all of that. Here's a hot take I think that Arkansas might be a bigger test than what Oklahoma was, because
I disagree with that.
I
disagree with that.
Okay, well, let me give you my reasoning. Joe, Taylon Green can keep them in this game if he doesn't turn the ball over. We've actually seen him in games and in situations where he hasn't done that. He gets outside the pocket and he starts playmaking, Joe. I'm just telling you, you better be ready for this kid now.
Oh, I've been, first of all, a little funny that in that preseason preview that we did, I hyped up Taylon Green and then you kind of downplayed it a little bit. So, and now you're hyping him up. Look,
downplaying it is actually playing out to be it is why you're concerned about him right now.
Yeah. So dude, I'm not super fearful. Yes. Michael Hawkins, though, when he came into the second half of that game for Oklahoma, he was hard to stop as a runner. They weren't prepared, though. For anyone who's going to jump to that and say, oh, look at what happens when they go up against a really mobile, athletic quarterback, it's not a good example. Teams game plan and prepare their entire game plan about going up against certain quarterbacks. You can't use that. I'm not saying this to you, but I'm saying this to anyone who wants to use that example and is going to jump in the comments. You can't use that as evidence because the kid's never played before. There's no tape available on him, and there was no preparation for him. So the whole game plan gets thrown out. Your whole defense is then kind of scratching and clawing to figure out, okay, what are we going to do to get the stops now that we need? I think that for that circumstance, they still played pretty good in that second half. I know that they gave up some scoring drives and they almost came back into it. But with all that against them, they still have the deepest front seven in the SEC. I think that recognition and that love for how good that defense is needs to be brought back up. Yes, if Taylon Green plays a cleaner game, he can certainly stress them. But I don't think this is going to be a test. I think that Tennessee is going to have no problem kicking their ass.
I'm not going to do that. I think Arkansas is going to come out and unload the clip. I think you're vastly underestimating what it's like to go in that place and going into that place. Joe, they're going to be fired up to get this one. I do think that the fan base feels that they've played much better than what their expectations were. Joe, if you would have told them
that is definitely true. That is definitely true.
Going into 6 games here, if you would have told them you'd be 3-3 with going up against Tennessee, A&M, and Oklahoma State, I mean they're 3-2 right now. But Joe, I got to be real with you. One team has been battle tested that you cannot take that away from them. And I agree.
Wait, hold on. But I would push back. Wait, I get what you're saying, battle tested, but they're losing those battles. They were up big against Oklahoma State, and they gave up a lead and fumbled it away.
Fair.
And then they lost a close game to Texas A&M that they had a chance to win.
Fair. I'm not fair.
So they're lost battles. Being battle tested doesn't mean anything if you're dying.
Okay, what happens? Do you know right now what this Tennessee team looks like when they have an offense that has the ability to score at times? Because I'm going to be real with you. Name one that they've gone up against that can.
That's true. But
okay,
I'm just laughing. I'm laughing at the statement of going up against an offense that can score at times. So that means that they're a little bit above average. It's not like they're going up against Alabama
they're
this
top
week.
10 in rushing offense. They're top 10 in passing offense. Quite honestly, you talk about yards not mattering. Okay, it does matter. Maybe they're not top 10. Go look it up on NCAA.
Not in passing offense. They are. I have them 21st in rushing offense with 212 per game. That's what I've written down.
Okay, so 21st. So the bottom line is, Joe, the second best offense that they've seen this year is legitimately NC State.
I don't disagree with any of those statements in saying that, yeah, you're going to –
you better be careful in there, man. All right, now.
I'm agreeing with half of the statement. The half of the statement that I'm agreeing with is this is a learning opportunity, and it's practice reps for when you go against Jalen Milroe. It's like when you bring in the scout team quarterback and you say – and it's not the normal scout team quarterback. And you say, we need you just to run the entire play period where we're going to give you the cards. We need you to run all over the place. Maybe it's a true freshman, whatever it is, and it helps you get ready for the game. That's what this is going to be for them.
I want to emphasize, I think Tennessee's winning this football game because I feel like I'm defending Arkansas. Okay. I'm not trying to be like I'm picking Tennessee to win this football game. Okay. I just think that we have not seen a guy like Taylon Green or an offense that has the capacity and the coaching to stress them in moments. Joe, let's just be real about something. Oklahoma, for what they are, they didn't have a chance in blue snowball hell to move the ball on Tennessee with Jackson Arnold. They didn't. The kid's not ready. They didn't scheme up things for him that were conducive. That's why they made a change at quarterback. But the God's honest truth is, you're right. I think they're going to win. Joe, you couldn't blow out a team that literally could barely pass the 50-yard line in Oklahoma in a half.
Okay, but you were that game was a lot closer because, again, that Oklahoma defense is one of the, that is like, if there's a real unit that's not getting hyped up, but that is one of the best defenses in the SEC. That is a top 5 defense in the SEC. Forget what stats you're about to pull up, and we can't use the numbers from last week because they were down a bunch of guys because they had a ton of injuries. But more importantly, that defense won them the game.
Injuries are still there. They didn't disappear. Those guys are still
They
out.
didn't have those. Wait, but they didn't have those injuries against Tennessee. That's not what we're talking. That doesn't apply to the conversation we're having right now.
You said about the stats that I'm about to put up, so Auburn doesn't matter. Auburn.
No, I didn't say that Auburn doesn't matter, but the Auburn, if they gave a.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.
What?
Peyton Thorne went 21 of 32 for 338 and 3 touchdowns with a pick.
They were banged up.
Joe, they're still banged up. They were banged up.
They weren't banged up against Tennessee. They were not banged up against Tennessee.
Joe, they had 2 DBs out.
No, they didn't. Their normal starting corners against Tennessee were in.
The right boundary corner on the second play of the game went out.
Blake, that I'm like stunned that like you're downplaying Oklahoma's dominant defense, really well coached defense, and the way that they played against Tennessee, and then you're upselling an Arkansas offense that has scored 20-something points.
Is Peyton Bowman good?
Peyton Bowen,
excuse me.
Well, he's the guy that scored Notre Dame.
Is McKenzie good?
They have a ton of very good football players on the defense. You're just going to keep naming them?
Yeah, because you're saying their secondary's not out, and they all played last week.
Those are 2 guys that they have. Okay, Blake. I've watched them play. I've watched their film. They played a really good game against Tennessee. That defense, if we're like trying to find a way to compare these 2 things, that defense is miles better than this Arkansas offense.
You better
more of a test than anything.
All right, we've gone down a complete rabbit hole.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, you better not go into Fayetteville messing around. You better go in there locked, loaded, and ready to go, because I'm telling you, Joe, if he cleans up some mistakes, when he finally, because it's going to happen under Bobby Petrino, when those mistakes get figured out, all right, you better get ready. Because you know deep down that Bobby Petrino can do enough. Joe, we saw.
But we're 6 games into 5 games into the season. We can't use the word if anymore. There's enough evidence to know what works and what doesn't. Things aren't going to get fixed that quickly and that easily. If he plays better, yeah, that's a huge if.
I think if it's all said and done, Tennessee's going to out-physical Arkansas. They have more depth.
Yeah.
They're going to run the ball at will. I think Sampson is a beast. Joe, when is that game for Nico that he's going to bust it wide open? That's what she said. When is that game going to be? But
yeah,
I'm flipping this one, buddy.
I might end up just keeping it in there. But
what she said.
Nico's going against a secondary that's gotten a number of turnovers this year. I think that they've got 6 interceptions on the season, so he has to be smarter with his decision-making. Can this be an early opportunity for him to just continue to build and get better every single week, which is one of the things that we commended him for?
I think he's going to do it.